A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, we discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as I have a look at Swallows versus Kaizer Chiefs. So, this is then a pre-match analysis of that Dstv Premiership encounter. So when we have a look at it then, Swallows will be represented by the red team and then Kaizer Chiefs will be represented by the blue team. So coming up into this encounter then, Swallows have been doing really badly within the league. They've just struggled, they've tried different formations, they've tried different players, but they've just not been able to get their season going. So when you have a look at it then, Swallows do tend to line up in a 4-3-3 and I think coming up into this encounter, I think that's the formation that they should be looking to go with, especially when you consider the personalities and the players within their squads. And I just think that going forward, I think that certain players should be brought into the lineup and within certain departments, just go back to basics, you know. So in goals then, you have Jody February at left back. They will most likely start with Sussman. However, I just think that coming up into this encounter, I think that go with the experience of Langerman, as he is a player then who can venture forward and deliver those quality crosses. So I think Langerman should start this game. And then when you have a look at the centre-back pairing, Mohamed as the left-sided centre-back, and then you have Junaid Said. But if Wandisile Tlabika is fully fit, I would start Tlabika and Junaid Said as at times when they have played together, they have looked a lot more solid. At right back then should be Uvuyomere. If he is fully fit, you know, I just think that they have missed him in recent matches when he hasn't played. That experience and that width that he tends to offer for Swallows, and as well considering the fact that from a qualitative perspective, he does tick that box of being able to deliver the ball into the box. Moving on then, within the heart of midfield, they do normally start with Nyatama, Matlo, and Mukwena. So when it comes to this midfield then, I just feel that Swallows should tweak it a bit, you know. I just think that they should forgo both Matlo and Cheeseboy Mukwena. I just think that they should go with Keagan Dolly and Magaman, especially considering the fact that they have lacked a bit of that creativity from deep pockets of spaces within the heart of midfield, and they've lacked that presence within the half spaces as well, and they've lacked the penetrative pass, whereas Keagan Dolly is well adept at that. So that he is a player then that can pop up deep into that half space and find those penetrative passes. With Keagan Dolly, you do have the progressive pass, you do have the creativity, and he does offer that verticality then when it comes to his play. And then with Magaman, is a player that goes box to box. He does have the energy. When you bring these two players within the heart of midfield for Swallows, I just think that it offers Swallows that presence within the two half spaces, as they are both creative players and also very intelligent players who are also very good on the ball then. And I just think that Swallows have lacked that from a midfield perspective. I think at times it's just been a bit too monotonous and they need a bit of that. And I think Keagan Dolly and Magaman would be best placed and best suited then to give Swallows a bit of that. And then when you have a look at it then, you've got Saleng, who started off the last time, and then you have Solomon. So I really like these two, especially in these wide positions, especially considering the fact that they do have the creativity and they do have the speed, especially Solomon's then. I would just be looking to start Solomon's on the left-hand side and then have Saleng start on the right-hand side, where then he can look to come onto his left foot. He is a player then who's got an eye for goal, so he can score goals whenever he does pop up and penetrate within the final third. And then up front, I would be looking then to go with Musonda. Just change things up a bit, you know. Yes, Gamildien has been playing, but he hasn't been finding joy. I think Musonda would be a lot better, especially considering the fact that he would be coming up against Amator and Cardoso, who have struggled in recent times. I think that he can really exploit Mato and Cardoso. I think that he could be looking to exploit them. If not, then they could go with Gamildien. Gamildien then does offer that speed and movement in behind, which then is something else that could also look to exploit these two. But I would be looking to go with Musonda, you know, especially considering the fact that Saleng and Solomons are players who are very tricky, very quick, and then will look to bring that ball in. And I think that Musonda is a striker then who's well adept at occupying the box and finishing off those chances. And when you have then a look at Swallows, they've got so many players then who could come off the bench and make to look an impact. When you have then a look at a player like Undlovu, he can always come off the bench. He is a quick player. You've got Makhalwa, if fully fit, who can also come off the bench. So this Swallow side, they do have the personnel, they do have the players who can actually come off the bench and make to look to make an impact for this Swallows side. Moving on then, right along, when you have a look then at Kaizer Chiefs. So the last time out then, Kaizer Chiefs did start with a 4-3-3. In goals, they did start with Daniel Akpe. At right back, they did start with Blom. And then as the two centre-backs, they did start with Matoho and Cardoso. So when you have a look at the centre-back pairing, then they have been struggling. And I just think that they continue to struggle with the same type of balls. It's either a ball that's played in between them or it's a cross. And my biggest issue then when it comes to them is that they don't communicate and they're not well organized, and they struggle then to organize this back four, and they don't manage the spaces in between the pair of them. I just think coming up into this encounter, bringing back Dube would be a great idea, because when you have a look at Dube, then he is then an organizer. He does know how then to marshal his back four, and Kaizer Chiefs then from that perspective, the last time out against AmaZulu, they did struggle with those balls that were played in between Matoho and Cardoso, or those balls were played over them then. And I just feel that from a defensive perspective, they are then the weakest link when it comes to this defensive line. And then when you have a look at it at left back then, the last time out, Frostler did start, but he picked up an injury, and then Patlele was brought in. I just think then that Mashiane would be a better suited player to start as a left back, by virtue of the fact that he does give you that width in vertical zone 1, as he is a natural left-footed player, and he can then also look then to go forward and offer that width for this Kaizer Chiefs side. So just very disappointed then that Mashiane hasn't been getting the opportunities during this season. But you most likely then have Ramatra Mpatlele starting there, as Stuart Baxter does then tend to favor the older player and the much more experienced player, even though at times they don't really offer much, you know. And then when you have a look at it within the heart of midfield, then you've got Roadblock, you've got Nange, and then the other midfield I think will be a gay, because Cole, the last time out, he did pick up a red card, so he will then be suspended. But I just feel that this is a game then that you should be looking to start Nkosi Ngobo or Khatebe, you know, especially when you have a look at Swallows. Swallows is a team then that are low on confidence, so if you can take the game to them and have players then who have that ability then to pop up into zone 14, pop up into the left-sided half space, that is a Khatebe or a Ngobo, then you then give your midfield that creativity and that ball progression and that final third penetration as well that it's been lacking. And it's been very, very poor then from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective within the heart of midfield. There's no creativity. There's no player who is able then to nurture the ball and look then to make this Kaizer Chiefs side string a couple of passes together and then progress the ball and offer that verticality. But a player then like Nkosi Ngobo is dearly needed when you have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, because from a creative perspective within the heart of midfield, it is poor, it is dead, and it's just, yeah, it just doesn't inspire any confidence. And the last time out against AmaZulu, they just couldn't create any chances. They had one shot on target in open play, the other was the free kick, but it was very, very poor from a midfield perspective. I just think that this team then is crying out for a creative player within the heart of midfield, especially considering the fact that you'd have Nangen, you have Ngobo, who would be then the defensive cover for Nkosimpile Ngobo, which then would allow him then to pop up into the left-sided half space. You would then have Keagan Dolly starting. I think Sikhota continues to start, and then you will most likely have Bernard Parker. So I just think that then when Dolly does come into that right half space and Blom offers that width, if you do start Nkosimpile Ngobo, he then balances our attack, because our attack has become lopsided by virtue of the fact that we're always relying on the right sided channel. So we're always reliant on vertical zone 5 with Blom, and then vertical zone 4 with Dolly dropping into the half space, playing in between the lines. That is where it was so reliant on. And also then Gamildien was out, which then also then made it very difficult for us then to penetrate and have a player making those runs in behind, have a player looking then to institute that creative action, which Gamildien is very, very good at. I just think that if Gamildien is fully fit, I think he should come back into the lineup. But if he's not, you'll most likely then have a front three of Dolly, Parker, and Sikhota. And when you have a look at it then, yes, what Ngobo would then bring is that he would then bring a balanced approach to attack, because then the opposition wouldn't only be concerned on Keagan Dolly, but then you'd also have a very creative Ngobo, and then you'd have Sikhota as well. I also think then that this would also aid Sikhota as well, because then I think you'd have a lot more support, and especially then when you have a look at the left-sided half space, as he is a player who likes to keep wide. I just think that when it comes to Sikhota, this is a game where he should then be looking to make an impact and grab the opportunity, because the last time out, I wasn't impressed by his performance. I wasn't impressed with his decision making and his first touch at times. I just think that this will be a lot better from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective, and I think will be a lot more penetrative, because then what then it offers us five players then who will be looking to penetrate. So in vertical zone 5, you have Njabulo Blom. In vertical zone 4, in the left side, in the right-sided half space, you will have Keagan Dolly. You will have Bernard Parker going through the middle. You have Nkosimpile Ngobo going through the left-sided half space in vertical zone 2, and then you will have Sikhota. From this perspective, I think it gives Kaizer Chiefs a lot more creativity and a lot more penetration when it comes to the final third. I think then from a final third perspective, we could find joy, especially considering that this Swallows defense has been leaky and they are low on confidence. But when you have a look then at this game, I think it plays out in such a manner that Swallows will have the lion's share of possession, and Kaizer Chiefs will then be looking then to hit the Swallows side on the counter. But when you have a look at it then, you have two sides which have been poor when it comes to how they look to play then, and how they then look to impose themselves within a game. Swallows have been, very monotonous. They haven't been able to penetrate, and I just don't foresee Swallows scoring a goal within this game, but I do see Kaizer Chiefs getting a goal. So coming up into this encounter then, I do foresee Kaizer Chiefs winning 1-0. So thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Dstv Talk with Luyolo. Do let me know at home, what do you guys make of this encounter? Which players should Baxter bring in? And what do you think of Kaizer Chiefs' poor performances as of late, especially against AmaZulu, and when you have a look at the poor performances of Swallows? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Dstv Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.